So today we're going to be talking about 5 things that we learned from the South Africa versus Australia ODI series. We'd also be unpacking Rob Walter and Marco Janssen's press conference. And that's what we're going to be talking about on the show today, because I thought that it would be nice to just catch up after that victory and highlight some of the things that I think stood out from the series and what I think about what stood out from it from a fan's perspective and from a player's perspective and from a team perspective heading into this World Cup. But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things that I'd like you guys to please do. We are like 30 away from 4,000 subscribers. So please subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't also forget to smash the like button, comment, and share. I'd like you guys to please also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also, smash the like button and don't forget to support us by becoming a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. This is how you support us and show your support for us and keep everything that's going here at this particular organization, you could say, and this particular team that we have going. And then also go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. We're going to be obviously talking about reacting to Rob's press conference, Marco's press conference. We're also going to go into 5 things we learned from the South Africa versus Australia ODI series win, which was a brilliant one, obviously, from the Proteas. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid Mohideen, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket. Now, on today's show, as I said at the start, we're going to go through 5 things that I think we learned from South Africa's win over Australia in the ODI series. Now, I've made 5 different slides here to highlight the 5 things that I think were standout things from a South African perspective. First and foremost, I'm going to start with number 5. Number 1, sorry, and that is setting the platform. Now, what do I mean by that? I think what's brilliant about what South Africa has done in this particular series is that we've shown that that the partnership of Quinton de Kock and Temba Bavuma has been excellent. They've been finding their cohesion between the two of them. They've been coming together and they've been showing what they can do as a pair when they complement each other and they support each other. We could see both Quinton de Kock and Temba Bavuma take hold of the power play and sometimes not, but also try to kick on. But I think they complemented each other quite well in a couple of the matches, not in all of them. There were some issues between the two of them. But the importance of this was setting a platform for the batters that come in later on in the innings. I think that was something that I think was brilliant from the pair in certain matches, but it showed the importance of why you should have a good platform and a good start. Australia showed it in their particular games, but also South Africa showed it in a couple of games. When the platform was set and there was runs on the board, that meant that the middle order could truly strike and play their game and come out on top. And that's what happened. And that's how we came back into this series as well and into this match. We set the platform for our middle order and our lower order, and they could play with more freedom and more confidence and really stamp their authority on the game. Then, number 2, do the simple things well, said from the bowler's perspective. As the series went along, we started off very poorly when it comes to the bowlers. I think that we were struggling to keep Australia at bay, particularly in the power play. And we were giving a lot of runs away. We were really struggling throughout this tour, from the T20 series right into the ODI series. We were struggling to put runs on the ball. I mean, to contain the batters from the opposition. But as this particular games went on, and as the series went along, particularly in the final two games, we saw South Africa's bowlers start to do the simple things right, particularly the last three games. We saw our Keshav Maharaj and Shamsi, they skipped good, decent lines and put the ball in the right areas. And that obviously helped South Africa uh, bowl Australia out and contain them and get wickets at the regular intervals. Those are things that I think we need to carry over into the World Cup. We saw our Marco Janssen was very expensive at the beginning of the series, and then as the series went along, he became better and better. And you could see that he, in the last game, he was keeping making sure that he was doing the simple things right, putting the ball in the good area. And I think this is a lesson that we learned from Australia, actually. Doing the simple things with the ball was something that Australia did perfectly. They weren't necessarily trying too many crazy things, but they were putting the ball in dangerous areas consistently. They analyzed the pitch, they saw where the deviations would be, and they put the ball in those particular spots consistently over the time. So I think that is something that was brilliant from this particular series. Something that we can take out from there is that we need to do the simple things correctly. We need to do make sure that, especially our younger bowlers, make sure that they do the basics correctly and do the basics right. We heard Andrew Klaasen speak about it in his press conference, and then we wanted them to be able to implement that. And the simple things we saw in the last three games, they went back to basics again, did the things that they are good at, and they made sure that they could keep consistent with it. Now we didn't it wasn't no by no means a flawless experience from the bowlers. They got better as the series went along. So I think that is something that is important as well, that we need to look at from this particular ODI win. Then number 4, Marco can work at number 7. Now this is up to debate by many fans, but the one thing that I thought was very good from Marco Janssen is that throughout this series and this tour, he got better and better with the bat. His confidence grew, his ability grew, his shot selection grew, and when he was faced with more pressure as the series went along, he showed that he can truly do it. 47 he scored. It was a brilliant knock with the bat. And I think that it was an all-round performance from him in that final game, possibly the man of the match in that particular game. 47, and he went out just shy of his 50. He's a top score for him in the ODI format, and also took a fifer in the match. So he's starting to really grow into that number 7 role. And I think I feel a lot more confident now about him at 7 than I did before. By no means is he the finished product, and by no means can we say that he's a full-blown, fully fledged number 7 quite yet. But I think he's starting to show the signs of it, and he's starting to show that he's improving on a consistent basis as games go along, as he plays more in the role, as he grows as a batter and he grows as a player. So I'm happy about that, and I think that that's something positive to look at. And I think I feel a lot more confident with Rob's. If Rob's going to play him as the 7, I feel a lot more confident that he will have the ability to be able to do a job for South Africa in that position. Then finally, I would like to say the last lesson is don't give up belief. A lot of fans were on this particular show as well, were starting to write off quite a few players. As we went into this particular series, there was very poor performances, and one man on the screen was struggling for his fitness and his rhythm throughout the series. But what I like the most about these players, and also Tabrei Shamsi was someone that was heavily scrutinized in the T20 series, heavily scrutinized in the first two ODIs. And what I saw from them is that they fought back and they showed that they can keep believing in their abilities. And I think it's something that all of us have to do as fans, is support the players through the difficult times. Because if we can't support them and believe in them in the difficult times, why do we have the right to support them in the good times? So yes, criticize. Yes, we can talk about it. Yes, we can complain about certain things that we are not happy with. but we still need to make sure that we have that support and belief for the players that they can come back from it. No one, I don't think anybody, or not many, would have thought that we could come back from a 2-0 down deficit in the series and come back and win a 3-2. But the Proteas did. They kept their belief. They kept their belief amongst each other, in each other. The captains, both captains, Aiden and Temba, because they both captained in the series. They believed in their players. They believed in the abilities of the bowlers and the batters that they had in this team. Rob believed in them. The team believed in them, and they came back and they showed it in the field as the games went along and as the series went on. They showed it in the field. They showed it amongst each other. They showed that spirit amongst each other, and they kept believing that they can win this. We kind of looked at the Braves in his presser when he was saying that, and we kind of laughed a bit. I was also um, uh, one to have fallen victim to that, but I'm also responsible for that as well. I mean, I did that as well. I'm guilty of that. That's what I actually wanted to say. And they proved us wrong. They kept the belief amongst each other, um, and I thought it was an amazing step forward for this team. A team that wasn't in maybe a space that a lot of us would have said was comfortable. I think a lot of people would have said that we weren't prepared enough for this World Cup, but right now they believed in each other, and that showed throughout the series. And I think that was brilliant from the staff and the backroom staff and the players and obviously the senior players as well. That we need to take our hats off to them for keeping that belief throughout this particular series, because that's the only way that was the X factor part, and that was the extra bit that they needed to take themselves over the line and claim a victory from such a difficult place. Yes, we've done it before against England, but this time around, this was a little bit sweeter. Australia was in form. They were dominating South Africa throughout the series. They looked like they were reaching their peak. And then South Africa snatched that victory away from them. One win at a time. 3 major wins. Some people call it a quarter, semi, and a final. They proved it. It was a brilliant performance overall. And I think those are the 5 lessons that I think we've learned from this particular series. So now let's go into the press conferences. Hello, OP Blitz. Hi, Hydromic. Was watching the Rob press conference, was just playing cricket. Our all-rounders will be important for this World Cup. Yes, they will be. So I want to now see what we can take from Rob Walter's press conference as well as Marco Janssen's press conference to see what they think they learned from this particular tour. Let's see what they had to say, and let's see if we can pick up anything from this particular series based on what they had to say. So I'm just going to go to these video files and open it up for you guys now so that we can react to it together. I'm going to have to go here. I don't know why this is happening now. Okay, down. Let's start with Rob.
Rob, this might sound silly, but 3 games ago, how were you feeling compared to where you're feeling now ahead of a World Cup?
I mean, it's obviously it's easy to get caught in the emotion, I guess, on either side. When you're losing, no one likes losing, everyone likes winning. I suppose for me as coach, it's just important, to stay level, just understand where we're at as a team, what we're working on, what we're working towards. There were moments in the first game that, to be fair, we should have won. And in the second game, we probably, 2 guys converted those 40s. We come closer to winning that one as well. So, losing's not everything. It doesn't tell the full story. So it's about being able to pick apart the good stuff and understand the areas that we didn't quite nail. And we just paid some specific attention to that.
Is that when you, within the group, need to stay focused and believe in your processes, and this is where we're actually heading?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest cliches in sport, isn't it? Is sticking to the process. But it's a cliche just because it's true. You have to trust the work you're doing. You got to trust the way that you want to play together as a team, and then trust the way that you want to go about trying to win games of cricket. So I think for me the best part was we won cricket in different ways in this series. We won the game in Potch with spin. We won the game in Supersport Park with pace, and probably put it all together today. So so there were some really good signs right from the word go, to be fair, and we should have capitalised on probably one win at least more in this series.
Yeah, so there we go. That was my final slide. It was believe, and the believing in the processes, believing in that they can do it, and they actually ended up doing it. I see all people saying, but it was Australia's B team. There was only a couple of players missing, and we also had some players missing too. So we had some youngsters that we played. Yes, it is the World Cup squad, majority of them. But not all of our players were always available due to injuries and other things as well. So it wasn't necessarily our main 11 all the time that played as well. So let's continue.
Ken?
Congratulations, Rob. I think at the start of the series I asked you about the number 7 position and the importance and heading into the World Cup. That must be a box that you feel is very firmly ticked at the moment.
Marco has got such huge potential, and we probably saw him realize a little bit of it today in that he contributed on both ends with a bat and with a ball. But there's so much more in the tank with him, to be fair. So for me, it'll be enjoying the fact that he put both bat and ball performances together, but understanding that he's not even close to his ceiling yet, and that's what I'll be pushing him towards achieving.
Winning the series aside, the targets coming in to these 5 matches against Australia, how far did you go in achieving them, and what were they?
Yeah, I think you're always balancing between winning the game that's in front of you and then prepping for a World Cup that's a couple of weeks away. So the main thing that we wanted to do was to make sure that our batting unit got time in the middle and got runs under the belt. And then from a bowling point of view, is we wanted to make sure that we, again, exposed everyone in our bowling unit. And that happened almost by default, really. It didn't work out exactly how we had planned it. Obviously, we had a couple of injuries along the way. But still, the key members of the team got time in the middle, got to compete, play competitive cricket. There's nothing like strong competitive cricket out in the middle. We had good camps in the winter. We trained really hard, but nothing mimics the pressure and the competition against good quality sides. So from that point of view, I'm happy. I thought, whilst we did drop a few catches, we didn't drop any regulation catches. The ones that we put down were tough catches with tough chances, and then we took some good ones along the way as well. So all departments, we certainly made progress and we improved. I'll never be so bullish as to say that we're there, because we're never there, but we're closer to playing good cricket than we were when we started.
Yeah, and that is true. I agree with him, because in this particular series we saw this team put on 400, 300 plus, 350 plus. So in a row, like three games in a row. So I think that was something that we improved on, and I think in the field we were a lot better than I've seen us in previous years, maybe under Otis Gibson, for example, and under Boucher, maybe even. Our fielding was really good in this series. I know we dropped a couple of difficult catches, like you said, but there were some great catches taken. There were some good stops in the field that really revived the whole team in key moments. So that was something that I think was something that we can look forward to. What I liked about the series the most was probably that we improved consistently throughout this particular series. We got better and better and better as the series went along, and I think that's good momentum going into the warm-up games.
Rob? At the back. I think you're playing Australia. Australia is in your second game at the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, in 3 weeks' time. How great is it that the game is so close, the World Cup game, I mean, after having winning 300 trots against them? With pretty much the same squad that will be in India.
I think we've got to be very careful when it comes to Australia and reading too much into this series in terms of what it means for the World Cup. The conditions might be very different. I think the best part of that is that, as I said, we've won with spin and we've won with seam, so we feel like we will be able to tackle whatever conditions we get. But their team will change. Their bowling lineup will change significantly, all things being equal. You'll see Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins coming at you with a couple of changes in the batting lineup. And one thing we do know about Australia is they understand how to perform in World Cups. So whilst we'll take the momentum for ourselves as a team into the World Cup, we won't look too far ahead to that game, other than to say that our track record recently against Australia has been pretty strong, and we're going to need to keep that up in the World Cup.
Myron?
Yeah, so there he admits it as well. I mean, those three bowlers that are going to come in, obviously, those two bowlers that are going to come in, Stark and Cummins are phenomenal. So this team is going to have to be up for it, of course. This was by no means Australia's best team, as it was earlier pointed out. But it is something to look forward to from a South African perspective. They needed to get that confidence under the belt, timing out in the middle, and start believing that they can convert scores and score big. I was very happy with what we got out of the series ultimately, because we played in the end the 2-0 down, coming back. We learned a lot more from that experience, even though we didn't mean to put ourselves in that situation. In the end, it worked out well for us. And we ended up obviously growing that momentum and getting a win under pressure, which I think was fantastic from the team.
Rob, can you chat a little bit about Kesh? Obviously a couple of months ago the situation was very different, but it must have been great to see him out there, and that outpouring of emotion, really showed what it meant.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, and probably said it along the way, firstly, to Kesh's efforts, his professionalism, and just his sheer desire. If you want to know what desire can do, just watch Kesh. People wrote him off from a medical science point of view. He was doing something that is uncharted, but he told me right at the beginning he'd be back. So. And I didn't for 1 second not believe him. So he worked as hard as he possibly could. The medical team were outstanding throughout, and so it's a feel-good story, really. And look, we haven't got to the World Cup yet, but he's bowled unbelievably well in this series, and today was just another example of the quality bowler that he is.
Yeah, that's something that I obviously complimented before as well. Kesh's ability to come back after that particular injury, I never thought that he would be able to do so. And he ended up being fantastic in this particular series and getting himself fit in time. I thought it was phenomenal from him. It showed his mentality 100%.
Rob, the 3 T20s in Durban was pretty much sold out. There were fantastic crowds across this 5 ODIs. Great little scene outside with Proteas fans dancing to the brass bands, and you guys would have seen that. Can you chat to us about the role that the supporters have played, despite having gone through quite a lot over the last couple of years, and what message is spread within the Proteas dressing room about playing for this country, which we know has a number of socioeconomic challenges?
Well, I mean, the role of the team is to provide inspiration and hope, and unify. It's that simple. But the way to doing that is playing a brand of cricket that people can get excited about. And secondly, obviously, everyone likes to win. So while playing the brand of cricket that we want to play, that we want to excite people who watch the game and watch the Proteas play, we also understand that we're a vehicle for inspiration for the country. And I think when the team are at their best, they provide a little mirror into what the country can look like, where race is not an issue. There's no political divides. There's just 11 guys on the park and everyone in the support around them that only focused on one thing, and that's a collective mission together to get the job done and play good cricket. So, if that's anything to go by, and I've said it a lot since I've come back, is it's awesome to see how the crowds have changed, the demographics of the crowd has changed, the people enjoying the game has changed, and hopefully the cricket we've played is a catalyst to that and will continue to be. So I think everyone's aware of the responsibility of the team, but we understand that the only way to create that change is to play our best cricket, because that's what people want to watch.
Stu?
Sort of twofold question this regarding fitness. One is on Sisanda. How long do you give him until you're satisfied that he's fit enough? I mean, would he go into those warm-up games, for instance? And the other one is Heinrich and where he is at the moment.
Yeah, look, we're continually sort of taking stock as to where both of those players are. I mean, the mere fact that they weren't playing today, with just a week to go before we board on the plane, I mean, obviously it's obviously a cause for concern, because we would have wanted them to be out there, and competing. So we'll give each player as long as we possibly can. Look, to be honest, there are a few complications around taking players that are injured into a World Cup, because once the support period begins, then you have to provide a medical reason for them to be ruled out and to be swapped out. So so we have to make sure that before that happens, that we are confident that they're going to be able to play. And so. So
is that now before you get on the plane, or?
Yeah, in an ideal world, yeah, because we don't have 28th as that's 3 days after we land that we have to make that decision. So we certainly don't want to be waiting too long to make that decision. Yeah.
Thanks. We're going to go to here, then two online with Firdous and Telford.
Oh, that's a worry, guys.
Rob, just to follow up on that, you obviously had Andile Peklekwai on standby. He's played a couple of games. How's he gone for you? And if somebody does get injured, has he kind of laid you concerns that he could possibly step up?
Yeah, look, Andile is one of a couple of guys that have played, that have been part of a broader squad, albeit some have played in the T20s that's still playing competitive cricket. So I think today Andile showed us a little bit, especially with the bat, he showed us a little bit with what we've seen a couple of years back in terms of his capability. And I mean, that knock to finish off the innings, really, you can look at that and say that was match influencing, high influenced in the game. Because a total of 270 looks very different to a total of 315. So he was a massive role player in that, and obviously took an important wicket as well, bowling. So for me, it's great that guys can come in and contribute. I mean, that's all we're after, is that there's a broader squad, as I've said right from the start, both T20 and 50 over cricket. There's a broader squad of players that are confident, that are comfortable in their roles in the team, that can come in under pressure, let's call it, and able to deliver a performance that gives the team a chance of winning. So fortunately that was recorded, but it's so I'm very happy that Sisanda, that Andile was able to deliver that performance with the batter. That makes a big difference.
So Firdous has sent a question through just due to the technical difficulties. Just adding on to that, who are the other replacements being considered in addition to Andile?
I suppose if you're looking at fast bowling, Lazard Williams was part of the T20 group that was from a fast bowling point of view. And that's really it. We've carried Bjorn throughout, who's been our sort of spin backup where required, and that's sort of the breadth of the squad that we've had involved throughout.
And then one from Telford. How does the fact that both teams were missing key players affect how you analyse your team's performance in the series?
Well, every performance in context, good or bad. As I said earlier, I'm under no illusions as to Australia will look different when we do turn out against them in Game 2 of the World Cup. And from our point of view, from our team point of view, we also I wouldn't say necessarily could look stronger, but we have other experienced players that haven't been playing that could well be available. So both teams could look a little bit different than they've looked in the series. But I sort of won't downplay the sort of the enjoyment that I've got out of watching different people contribute throughout the series for us to win it.
Great. That
Yeah, he only mentioned Lazard, which was a little bit of a worry for me over there. I was hoping that he'd maybe say another batter or someone. So he's only looking at cover at the moment for that. Because I mean, there's nobody injured, I guess, in the batting department. I guess that's maybe the reason. Okay, so that was Rob Walter's press conference. Let's see some of what you guys have to say about that. Ahmed saying it seems that Australia and England don't change their approach according to the situation. They just play that aggressive brand that backfired. Um, we still have a lot of things to work on. Our fast bowlers were less disciplined than the Aussies overall in the series, despite the outcome. Yes, they were, but our bowlers got better as the series went along, which I think we have a lot of things to work on. Our fast bowlers were less disciplined, and yeah, you said that already. Devo didn't play a single ODI. How can he be selected in the World Cup? Yeah, that's something that I've been saying. It's crazy that people want to, how can I jump the gun with certain players. I mean, give them the time to develop their games before we throw them into such a high pressure situation that can completely dent their confidence. Amit says probably Parnell is not fit. That's why Rob mentioned only Lizard. Yeah, and that's a problem. I think that I mean Lizard is a good replacement, but it's unfortunate that he didn't really just name drop. For us as fans to know who's in his mind and who's in his thinking. Okay, so let's move on to the presser of Marco Jansen. I want to see, because we don't get to hear him talk a lot. So I want to see how his mentality is. I want to try to read into some of the answers and what he's thinking about his current game and being a part of this team. Let's have a listen.
Before the series, there was a lot of talk about the all-rounder spot for the World Cup, and it seems to have been going on for a couple of seasons. Going into the series, how are you feeling? Obviously, with that responsibility, and you must be really pleased with the marker you've kind of put a peg in the ground for that spot.
Yeah, obviously just working hard behind the scenes. Yeah, it's just, for me personally, it was just all about how can I contribute with the bat for the team. I didn't or still don't have any goals in particular. It's just, for me, how can I contribute to the team at that point in time, depending on the situation. And then obviously with the ball, that's where my main focus is, to take wickets for the team. And yeah, just basically wherever I'm needed, just to help where I can, and obviously bring my part and do my part in the team. So yeah.
I expected that answer.
Of the two facets in this series, which have you been happier with, your batting or your bowling?
My batting. I enjoy batting a lot more than bowling, if I'm being completely honest, just because I like batting a lot. So in the nets, when I'm working on my batting, I actually enjoy it a lot more. I can't tell you why. I just enjoy batting. Whether I actually spend time in the middle, that's a different conversation. But yeah, I just enjoy batting. So whenever I get a chance to fulfill a role or to contribute with the bat, I try my utmost best. And then obviously with the ball, every time I go out there, I'm sort of expected to take wickets, which is also perfectly fine, because that's my primary role, so to speak. Yeah, so mainly I try and focus on my bowling, and then whenever I get a chance with the bat, to make sure that I contribute where I can.
Cool.
Good to hear that he enjoys it at least.
Marco, just on the bowling and the fact that you say you enjoy the batting more often, it seemed that at the beginning of the series that you were almost ambling into the crease and looking for a bit of swing up front. But as the got up beyond the high fall, that's when you really started running in and hitting the deck and trying to bounce people out. Is that a fair assessment? Is that how?
Yeah. So I was working a lot on trying to swing the ball, and I think that's where I've got my downfall. I was focusing too much on something that's not always going to be there. Where as a bowler, you can always constantly try and hit the wicket hard, and then through that, get some purchase through the wicket or in the wicket. So after Bloom, I realized that I was actually searching for things that weren't really there, and then just coming up here, I focus a lot more actually hitting the wicket with a bit more energy, and then whatever happens from there is out of my control. If it nips, if it swings, I can try things with my hands or the seam position as much as I want, but if there's no swing, there's no swing. There's only certain people that are highly skilled that can get swing all over the world, which is a very rare skill. So for me, the focus was just to get the most out of the wicket which we were playing on. So Bloom generally is a quite, not flat wicket, but as a bowler, there's not always a lot of pace and bounce. It's normally skiddy, nice, friendlier batting conditions, where up here, Supersport Park, Wanderers, there's a bit more for the bowlers, especially with my height, there's a bit more bounce. So I just try to utilize that as best as possible.
So, guys, our analysis of the situation was correct. I mean, it wasn't so difficult to maybe see for some experts of the game, I guess, but for the normal person and the normal cricket watcher and fan, they might not have understood that, and they might not have seen that, because that's something that we picked up, or I picked up from Marco in the game and throughout the series, is that he was looking for something. He was looking for variations and for swing and for etc., rather than just trusting his ability and his natural. Because naturally, Marco already has variations based on his physique, his height, his length, the pace that he brings, the angles that the ball comes out of his hand. All of those type of things have natural variation to it. So all he had to do is just hit the deck in the right areas, and what happens? He ends up having a fantastic results as results. So, and I'm talking like an idiot today. Good outcomes as a result. So that's something that I think that I'm glad that whoever told him that, or maybe he came up with that on his own, or they had to do something with Eric Simons, maybe giving him that tips. It's unfortunate that we didn't hear that now, or whether he mentioned that. I don't know if he mentions it later on in the show. But I'm glad to hear that our analysis of the situation was correct, and that they noticed it and actually implemented something different.
Marco, just to follow up on that, you've obviously played IPL and your grounds are big, but I mean, what's it like running in at the Wanderers with 35,000 people and you bumping people and getting caught on the boundary and hitting people in the head?
It's unbelievable. It's just the crowd, the sound of the crowd. Every time I hear it, whether I'm bowling or not, it just psychs you up as a player in general. So when you running in and you're getting wickets and you hear the crowd, that sort of gives you a little bit of extra energy, I would say. And then ideally, when you're bowling well, you try and use that energy into your bowling. And I guess sometimes as a bowler, you get carried away and then you think, okay, I'm just going to go 6 bounces in a row here. And then as you saw the one over, I got hit twice in a row for 6. So some you win, some you lose, but it's about how you go about it, and then executing a certain plan, and also watching the batter, what he's trying to do and where his strengths is, and trying to outthink him in a way. So
Thanks, Ken.
Marco, enjoying batting aside, it's obvious that you put in a lot of hard work on your batting. Can you tell us just where you feel you've improved most in terms of your batting?
I think I improved a lot in terms of my options, because when I started here, and I'm still very young in the team, I felt like I only had certain shots that were like my go-to shots, if it makes sense. So I would normally get myself into a situation where, let's say, for example, a spinner is bowling, then my go-to shot was a slog sweep over cow, for example, where now I feel that I can play more from the back foot, or I can maneuver the crease a bit more, so I have a bit more options if I feel stuck. and that's quite a good feeling for myself. So if I see, listen, I can't just hit every ball for 6, or I can't just plant my front foot and go over cow. I can actually get off strike. I can actually get the other batter on strike and help the team in that way in terms of strike rotation and all those kind of stuff. So that's definitely one area where I think I've improved a bit.
Yeah, it's brilliant, actually, information. That's actually very brilliant information. You can see how he thinks about the game, Marco. He really understands it, and he's articulating it brilliantly for us as well as fans. Because I'm glad to hear that that's what he's been working on. You know, we didn't just get an answer where he's like, "I just think I'm improved," or "I've just been working hard in the nets," or just a generic answer. We got details there. Giving himself more options, trying to prevent himself from being bogged down by the opposition so that he can rotate strike, also hit the different areas, not trusting only his shots that he feels most comfortable with, but also trying to move in the crease and knock the ball into areas that he maybe wouldn't have been confident enough to do in the past. So I think that is really impressive from him. I think that's a great answer, and I'm glad that he's analyzed that and worked on it, because the results are clear.
We are struggling with online, so we are just going to take questions from the floor, but also
Marco, throughout the series, you've been given the opportunity to actually contribute to the team, both with bat and ball. And you've actually done well, and congratulations to the splendid performance. What does that do for you personally within that setup, knowing that now you significantly have that role in the team, and also for your confidence as a player within that group of players as well? How can you say that has now pushed you to become better?
Yeah, so generally, or for me personally, it feels like there's a bit more pressure, because people expect you to, which is normal, to sort of contribute with the bat and ball. Doesn't matter in what way, form or shape or size or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, bring the pressure aside, it's actually an exciting feeling for me, because I know I have the ability, I know I can do it. It's just about handling the pressure and actually going out there and thinking clearly to what I want to do. Yeah, so today was just one of those days where luckily everything worked out nicely.
Marco, over the course of the series, I know Eric has been around as bowling coach, will be at the World Cup. What were the areas he was looking for you to focus on with the ball, and was it with the World Cup in mind? I mean, did you try things in the series that you want to utilize when you go to India, and what are those things?
Yeah, Eric is very specific in terms of where we want to hit, in terms of the length and in terms of the stumps and the lines and stuff. So he's very specific on that, which is a very good thing, because me, for myself, I was just, for example, in warm-ups, I was just warming up for the sake of warming up to get my body loose, where now it's actually focusing on a target, and while you're warming up, you subconsciously working on something, which is, for example, in my case, is hitting off stump or middle stump. So you'll see, like today, obviously there's stumps at warm-up, so then I'll try and hit off stump every single ball, not hitting it every time, but that's the focus. And then through that, you're subconsciously building your brain or building your action in a way to get the ball where you want it to go. So when the pressure is on, subconsciously it just happens. So there's a bit more structure, or a bit more. We are a bit more specific into where we want to hit, and what target we want to hit, and what lengths we want to bowl. So it's not a case of we're just warming up. There's a point behind warming up as well, which is a very, very good thing.
And were there things like in game situations during the series and I understand the priority was win those matches, win the series, but with what's to come in India, where conditions might be a little different from certainly what you'd find here, that you were trying to apply, and
yeah,
what are those things that Eric has put in, has been wanting from you guys with the World Cup in focus?
Yeah, so every stadium where we played at, so Bloom, for example, we assess the conditions. So in India, obviously conditions are going to change. So therefore the plans are going to change as well. So in Bloom, for example, we try to hit the stumps as much as possible because the ball is sort of just skidding on. So we try to make the batters make a play, which they did, and they played very well. Where here also there's a bit more bounce, a bit more pace. So we try to use the conditions to our favor, which is what every team tries to do. So we said, okay, for Supersport Park and for Wanderers, for example, we might bowl the one or two extra bounces, for example, because there's a bit more bounce, a bit more pace, just to make the batter think, where if you just hit a hard length, it's actually quite easy to bat because you can line a bowler up and you can sort of play with the bowler's fields and all that kind of stuff. So just to make the batter think differently and to make him think what ball's coming next.
We're going to take the last.
Okay, so at least there are talking plans. Ultimately, that's what we wanted to hear. He didn't give too many details away with regards to exactly what Eric has said, but I like the method behind warm-ups, focusing with regards to that. So that's interesting from that perspective, I guess. I would have liked to hear a little bit more details though with regards to that. We do have an episode with Eric Simons on the channel where he does give us insight into his thinking. So that might be a good thing to revisit, because then we'll at least know what he thinks and how he approaches things. And from that, we can obviously bring that. We can assume that he's been applying. You will be applying that at the Proteas as well.
Questions. Let's go over time and start with that day. Because we are back online. We do have one question from online as well. So just in the interest of time, we're going to wrap up.
Thank you. Marco, you speak about the different conditions, being offered in the different venues in the series. But interestingly, the team that bats first in the last 4 ODIs, or in 4 of the 5 ODIs, has actually won the match at 4 different venues. Do you think that's just a coincidence, or there's something in that?
Yeah, so it also depends on how the team plays. So Australia, they play a very attacking brand of cricket, which is very difficult as a bowler, because as you saw the first 10, we as bowlers we got smashed all over the place, which is quite difficult to see and to understand. But that's the way they played. So we just try to not manage that, but we try to form a plan, like not just to get hit. We try to get wickets while they're hitting us, if it makes sense. So even though they're going for 10s and over, if we get 2 or 3 wickets in the first 10, the game is sort of evened out. So then it's so like today, for example, they had to chase 3 something, I'm not sure. So then after, normally, like they were 100 and something for, I don't know how many wickets, 2 or 3, I'm not sure. So the game is sort of in the balance. So then it's not like they're getting ahead of us or we're falling behind. Where the first game in Bloom, they were 100 and something for, I don't even know. They smashed us. So they were very far ahead, and we struggled to pull the game back. So even though the conditions were different, it's how you play on the day, and then also just making it work, whatever plans we had. Because at the end of the day, runs is important when you're batting, and wickets is important when you're bowling. So the more wickets you get, generally the less runs teams score, and also with wickets in hand, you can score a lot of runs. So yeah, that's sort of how we try to do it.
Marco, we know that there was a little photo shoot yesterday with the World Cup kit on.
Yeah.
Is it starting to feel real now that this is really upon us, a World Cup? And can you also talk a little bit about what going to a 50-over World Cup means for you? It's been a whirlwind couple of years for you into professional cricket. Is it really feeling real now, and what does it mean to Marco Jansen?
Yeah, it's definitely getting real. There's still a week or so before we fly. I think it will hit everyone once we get on the plane, because that's normally, for me personally, how it works. So like beforehand, I'm very chilled, and I know it's coming, but once I get there, then it's like it hits me in the face full on, and then it starts to kick in. And then obviously it's my first ODI World Cup, and I'm very excited. but also very nervous because I don't know what to expect, even though I've played there in India a couple of times. Yeah, it's just going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Just have fun there, Marco, and do your best.
Marco, obviously you mentioned the pace and bounce here, which is right up your street. You've played a bit in India. How often do you think conditions are going to get close to what you had here?
I hope we get conditions like this, yeah. But yeah, it's like I said, it's all about adapting to the conditions. Because not the same plan is never going to work every time. It depends what the conditions are. Because sometimes a pitch, like for example, in Hyderabad, I felt there was a bit of swing and there was a bit of bounce, which was nice. And then once we get to Delhi or Chennai, it's quite dry and it's like stoppy, and so it's always like when you travel to different places, your game is going to change in a certain way. But for me, it's all about keeping my mindset the same. So when I'm bowling, I'm trying to get a wicket. So in Chennai, for example, I might get a wicket catching cover, where in Hyderabad, for example, I might bounce someone out. It's just all about finding a way and then adapting to the conditions. Yeah, it's not. I wish I played always on a fast and bouncy wicket, but you're never always gonna get that. So. Yeah, so it's just all about adapting to the conditions.
And that's going to be key, I think, because if Gerald plays, for example, Marco and Gerald have a good relationship. So Marco will be able to give some insight into the other players that maybe didn't get to play in the IPL. There are some players in this particular team that didn't play IPL cricket. So you've got Temba Bavuma, you've got Andy Klaassen never really necessarily played. I don't think he played many games in the IPL. I don't think he ever played. Did he start maybe very few games in the IPL? Let me just double check that. I don't exactly know his stats. I know he's been picked up, but he's played 19 matches in the IPL and averaging 36. And he's played since 2018. Okay, sorry, I haven't stuck to. Yeah, I didn't watch him play a lot. Let me put it that way. But we've got guys like maybe Temba Bavuma that hasn't played there. How many times? I mean, Rassi hasn't. You've got Magala. Yeah, like I said, Klaassen's played 19 games in the IPL. I just checked the stats there. I just never watched him play. I don't watch the IPL much, to be honest. But I think there's some good insight that can be taken and taught. I mean, even Keshav Maharaj, for example, never played in the IPL. Tabrei Shamsi as well. So that's something that we will be able to. A young player like Marco, who's learning about the game, he's like, it's fresh for him. You'll be able to obviously give insight to the others about the conditions over there. And the great thing about having someone like Eric Simons, that also gives you a lot of insights to that. I think the praise. Yeah. Having Eric Simons, who's been in the IPL as well, as a coach, it will give them a lot of insight into that. So that's brilliant from that perspective. So it's a major positive, I think, for the Proteas that a youngster like this is into the team. Yes, he's new, but at least he has familiarity with the conditions. That's the key.
Cool. We've got one very last one from Bedos Online, just asking how are you handling the responsibility of being the only genuine all-rounder in the squad?
Yeah, it's tough, but it's nice at the same time. Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a bit more responsibility, but for me, it's just important to go out there and enjoy it. Because luckily I enjoy batting. Otherwise, it would have been a tough job for me. yeah, like I said, when I'm batting, I just try and enjoy it and try and express myself. And then when I'm bowling, it's more of like I have a real job to do, and yeah, I just go out and try and express myself.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna try my best and get Marco on a show before the World Cup. I'm gonna see if I can organize that. That will be brilliant because we have had interviews in the past and we had a lot of fun doing so, and we know each other quite well. So I'm gonna try and do that and organize that. There are a couple of players that I'd like to speak to before the World Cup, and let me see if I can organize that. And if it's approved by Cricket South Africa, of course, I have to get it approved there first before I can get the opportunity to do so. But guys, that's it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. As we see, we covered quite a bit on today's show. I'd like you guys to please help me get to the 4,000 mark. We are 30 away, so please subscribe. Tell your friends and family to subscribe and click the notification bell for all future videos. If you are a South African cricket fan, we're trying to build a fan base over here. That's very, very important. I see, Suraj, you're talking about Dion Forrester. He played Division 2, not Division 1. So um, he looked good. I mean, he looked good in that team. It's a Division 2 game. He's very new to the system as well. We're going to have to track his career over some time. Every time you see someone perform doesn't mean that they should be pushed into the Proteas immediately. They need to have plans with these players and develop them, and they have to show consistency too. That's something as well that you need to look at from that perspective. So yes, he's a talent, but I would like to see him obviously make it into Division 1, maybe get picked up in the Division 1 team next season to see if he can keep this up consistently throughout the season, his performances, and then we can take it from there. Um, it's easy just to name drop a whole lot of different players every single time, but it's about consistency over time, and that's something that we need to take into consideration as well. Um, yeah, so guys, also smash the like button, comment, and share, and then go also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. You can also help support Cricket Fanatics and everything that we do here by becoming a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Please support us, guys. That's what keeps us going and allows us to continue doing these shows on a regular basis. And also go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all regular updates. I've been your host, Sam Khalid, and this has been an awesome show. I really enjoyed today's show to go through everything. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Peace out.